Where's the PowerPoint?
One night.
Oh.
This Thursday.
Why can't we have two things?
Oh, wow.
Boom.
Wow.
Okay, so there we
I
go.
love this. Oh, wow, that's good.
It is. It's amazing. We're all Lannisters.
All right, guys. Let's have
That's not good.
let's have some silence, and these guys are going to start the presentation.
So I'm just going to show our PowerPoint really quick because it's very nice. So, movie trailer Tinder by House of Lannister. We are all Lannisters. Going on to our second slide, you just see our, beautiful project links. Really, I wanted to start here. What our app focuses on, okay? Movie trailer Tinder, it focuses on connecting movie trailers that may otherwise not be seen directly into the eyes of people who need to see them. Currently, there's really only 3 ways that most people are able to see movie trailers. You got YouTube at the beginning of the movie before the film starts, or on a social network. But the problem with all of these, they're just 3 options, and unless you know every single movie name, you're going to have 100% chance of missing out on seeing an exciting movie trailer. And no one wants that, right? Movie trailer Tinder allows people to see multiple movie trailers from any genre they want, and it saves the movies they love, and it shows them where they can view it all in one place. We really followed the stories that we created at the beginning. It kept things relatively simple, so we just set up basic functionality of what we wanted things to do, what we wanted the user to do, put their name, choose a genre. We wanted the movie posters to be displayed with synopsis, and then we wanted the user to have the ability to view the trailer, decide if they love it or hate it, and then when they love it, we wanted to be able to show where they can actually go and view it. One thing I was proud of was Utelli. As this man here will tell you, it's very confusing. Spent a lot of time parsing out some JSON objects, and then this man is a genius. He will tell you how he constructed a little bit more of our wonderful app. Dante.
Alrighty. So, so with Utelli, we did have some parsing issues at first. With the help of our wonderful TAs, we came up with a way to parse the Utelli response using if statements and for loops. So basically what you get from Utelli response is an array of objects, and then within that array of objects each object is also an array of objects. So we had to loop through those arrays to get to the locations, which is where the display name was stored. So that's just kind of how we ended up getting our Utelli response to work and show the information that we wanted. Another thing that we had kind of a challenge with was the preference buttons that come up for loving it or hating it. Basically, the first time we had a really big function, and again, with the help of some of our TAs, we moved some stuff around, and we actually ended up looking at the fridge activity we did earlier, which would basically, we made an array, we looped through the array, and we ended up coming out with buttons at the end by generating buttons. Another thing that we had a little bit of an issue with at first was the Movie DB API. When we first got the API working and showing the results, we were stuck on one page of results, which was only showing 20 movies. So when we only had 20 movies, our original idea was to come up with a modal that would show, hey, it would ask the user if they want to change the genre. If they click yes, it would just go back to the beginning. If they click no, then it would make another call and bring up more movies. What we ended up finding out was that you could increment pages. When we increment pages, you get another 20 results. Then we had to end up setting our chosen movie back to 0, so it would go through all those results on that page. What else do we have to do? Firebase, we ended up using child added. So each time a user clicks love it, the movie goes to the table, and it will show the name that goes with the selection. It'll also show whether they loved it or hated it, which we are only saving the loved it movies. The other thing we are doing is we use our Utelli response to show the streaming information. So if you love a movie, it shows the movie, it shows the name who selected they love that movie, and it also shows the streaming information for whether it's on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, iTunes, any one of those platforms. We also had to get it responsive, so it is mobile, fully mobile responsive. Took us a little bit of time to get there, but now it's working as we expected it to on the phone. So that's about all I had to talk about.
Do you have like a pop-up blocker or something? Where's it popping up? Because I don't even see.
A pop-up blocker.
But there might be a problem. You see the red icon in the top?
This one right here.
Oh yeah.
Is your
Oh yes. Lock as. So turn it off.
this,
There you go. Just refresh it. Yeah, it's not
All right, there we go. So we'll do a little
like.
demo.
His name.
So my name is
type or enter. There we go.
all right. So my name is Dante. I like action movies, and I want to see some action movies. So Shazam comes up. It's a new movie. It's really cool because our API shows brand new movies. Then we click here.
What?
Not really
Well,
sure why it's not working.
I know.
you do a right click and open a new tab or something?
I mean, it works if I'm like looking at the same
Should
thing.
open its own window.
Oh, it does. There's something wrong with your computer, dude.
Here.
Because I'm looking at the same thing, the same live link.
That's one grade down.
It's not letting you open a new page.
Yeah, it's not even.
Expect the element. Live debugging.
No, no, I can.
Yeah, show those all those errors that you
There's no error. That's really weird because I mean I'm looking at it. Well, because one thing, yeah, I wanted Jeff to talk about because the click to view trailer, like it uses the YouTube API, and that was something that we added at the end. Like we had all of the functionality working the way we wanted, and it was just kind of, hey, let's see about YouTube. And Jeff was like, I am the code master, and he put on his hat and he cracked the code. It works. You don't have to believe me because I'm looking at the live link right here. Let me go. I can go another one. I love it. And then I'll click it. Boom. Boom.
As
It
you-
works.
As you can see, when Joffrey clicks it,
Yeah.
we do get a name down below. It shows the movie. Love it.
Oh, that's me. I'm Spock.
And since in-game's a new movie, you won't have any streaming info.
Yeah. Boom. There we go. So it does. It goes live. It's just I don't know. You know, again, nothing against your computer, but it obviously is against the Lannisters.
We want to talk about the
How we doing on time?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
So we considered 5 APIs during the course of our project.
APIs on the PowerPoint.
Because those movies, since we've been exposed to ONGB before, that was the first one we considered. We also considered Fandango, Rotten Tomatoes together, Utelli, and another database called just MovieDB. So those were sort of our primary ones we were working on. Each one obviously had its challenges and its differences. And for me, probably the biggest thing I learned in working with those APIs is how it can really drive your project. If you're reliant on APIs for what you're doing, the restrictions of the API itself really drive the direction of your project, because what we initially had proposed is very much different than what we ended up with, and largely was based on the APIs themselves and how they functioned, what information they gave us. The APIs we focused on, which gave us our MVP, again, very much different. Each had different calls, different structures to their JSON, different ways of parsing. And even though the coding from it wasn't that challenging, just figuring out how to parse and get the information we needed was quite challenging. And then ultimately we wanted the YouTube to work, so ended up researching YouTube. YouTube API through the Google console is actually has a lot to offer, and it's almost like it gives you too many options. It's kind of hard to figure out exactly what you want to do, because there are so many different options, so many different ways to access it, so many different ways to search. And finding one that works for you was a little bit difficult, but ultimately we found it. we're able to write the code to have it find the same random movie using the movie database, parsing an API through that, and we're able to have them come at the same time. And for actually the YouTube piece, the biggest challenge was actually getting it to come up in a pop-up screen rather than a separate tab. Finally fixed that problem, and on
It
a new
works.
PC, we couldn't get the click button to work, so obviously there's still a bug, which I'd be very interested in figuring out.
No, it works. Because I'm looking at the same link. Okay. I don't know what's good. I need to see. Come on.
Yeah, so clearly what we have here is like we have Dante and Jeff, they work the back end, me and Joffrey work the front end. I was more so like the designer. We discussed a lot of things and the mediator with discussion. So we wouldn't have battles of like what it should look like, what it should do. Because I know I'm not the strongest of coders, so I kind of allowed them to give input around what it should look like. But I kind of just made sure we have something pretty nonetheless. So that was kind of my role within everything, is kind of just the direction of what we wanted to look like, keeping everyone on the same page, frustration low, happiness high. And then I did do the carousel, which was working, but now no longer is working. So I was trying to figure out before class why it's no longer working. But we had a cool carousel at the bottom of our page. We've been through, me and Joffrey went through like a ton of different HTML for looks, and Joffrey came up with a new logo, which was awesome. We had like 3 different logos, more than 3 different logos. So we really focused on what we wanted to look like and making it look really smooth, really clean, if you will. And then our back-end code masters did the good stuff in the back.
Yeah.
Should we discuss what we'd like to see moving forward?
Yeah. Okay. So the way this becomes a multi-million-dollar app is if we can integrate the Google login. Boom. You log in. Okay. Get your information. Select movie genres. Literally, you can pitch this to AMC because AMC doesn't like Fandango taking cuts of their profit. So, hey, you know, you can pitch this to studios and say, look, you guys want people to look at your actual films. Okay. So all you need to do is you can get enough users by going to colleges, things like that, get them using it because people like looking at stuff that's on their phone directly in front of them, and everybody likes the movies. And so for AMC, you pitch it as, hey, look, instead of having people go using the Fandango app or like Harkins, they use Fandango, which is just taking a fat chunk of your revenue, we'll have them go directly to your website based off of if they like it. You know, they would get a display of, you know, where they can view it based off your geolocation, whatever, blah, 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 because they want more money. That's all of the big guys who have a lot of money, they want more money. And it is something that's is relatively easy because it would be running off of anything that we wanted to put it in there. So if we had like a data API for a movie studio and they had particular movies, you know, we can send it in there. And then the benefit of using the Google login is we have so much demographic data that we can say, look, we can literally target people based off of how old they are, what they like. But that's obviously when there's millions of users at a later date. Initially, we'll just start with college kids and you just do the horror films and, you know, slasher flicks, but I mean, it is something that, yeah, this would generate revenue. Yes.
I also,
Oh, we're done. Boom.
I just wanted to make one thing. I
Investors.
also would like it to be kind of like a blog spot where we have 2 posters and then someone would come in and say love it and then write their review. So necessarily kind of like an Instagram for movie trailers, but you also log in and talk with different people that love movies. So kind of like building a community of movie people so they're able to go to one place and write reviews, discuss why they thought this way, and have those open conversations because let's face it, social media is where it's at now. People don't really talk to each other anymore. They kind of just type with their fingers. So I would like to see possibly having a login so people can blog and post things in that way to have that movie community.
One thing I would like to see is just to have it connect to your streaming services directly and add to your wish list if you like something.
Yes.
You can add it directly to your wish list and then later go back to your streaming services.
Yes. Amazon. Boom. Because we're thinking about making money because we're the Lannisters. Gold. All of it is
Thank
ours.
you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. See, that's my
Hey, just real quick, can you guys just copy your link over to Safari? Because I just tried opening it up on on my computer in Safari, and it opened up, but it is blocking pop-ups.
Yeah,
So
like I don't
I'm
know.
Right.
pretty
It
sure.
works. We know this works. We are.
I mean, if you want to.
We want to. Can we show it? Can we show the functionality? We need
Safari
it.
look like again? It's a compass
I
because
don't
you're on a
see
Safari.
Safari.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Ah.
Command space. Command
Ah,
space.
Command space, search bar.
Safari.
Oh, look at it.
Okay, hit enter.
That's why Macs are so helpful. Look at that.
Boom. And Command V.
Copy V. Oh, you have it. You know what you're doing.
Boom. Let's see.
It will initially block your pop-up.
And for
Yeah. And for everybody knows who that is, right?
Click.
There's the.
Shazam.
See, Shazam is at it. You saw that. He just liked it.
No, let's see the
Looking at
trailer.
Boom. Pop up wizard block. Yes. Boom. Look
Click
at that.
on, just click on the pop-up.
Or I should open now. Wait. Oh that. Oh no! Wait. I went too far.
The window icon. To the right next to the right front.
Gotcha.
Yay!
Boom.
Whoa! It opened up in a new tab, you guys, just because it's on full screen.
Right.
See? Boom. It works. Everything's smooth, seamless.
I
We are the best. That's why you go first, and show everybody how the fuck it's done. Come poop in the room and then leave.
yeah, alright, what questions do you have?
Questions, comments? Drewy? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I have two questions. First one, what new library technology do you guys use?
Well, we use Google Fonts. It's new. We ain't used it yet. Boom.
Fair enough.
Snuck it in there.
Second question, what was the biggest obstacle for you guys in debugging?
I mean, the biggest obstacle was staying on the course, I felt. Because sometimes everybody had different ideas and starting to doing things. And, like, sometimes it would deviate off of the
Can I
main
answer
thing.
that? Can I answer it? Everyone has their unique ways of doing things. These gentlemen have been in the field for quite some time, so they all have their ways and tools and skills within coding. So we found a lot of barriers within communication and on how to do things, which led to some discussions that we could have overlapped by just saying, I trust you, do it that way, instead of trying to have that power struggle. So we just had a little power struggles that we just had to overcome and build trust around the craft and skills that they had. You're welcome.
One of
very
my
good answer.
One of my biggest obstacles was honestly parsing utility. I feel like I spent like a good amount of time trying to get that right.
Yeah,
that was
I
a roll.
agree. Because I did it with him too, and then I deleted the code, and then I was just agitated. And I couldn't find it, and I was like, whatever. But I forgot how it worked out. Yeah, I mean, it's just staying on pat. Like honestly, that's what I feel like. It's you get a lot of ideas as you're going down the path, you know, and it's easy to do different things. And like I feel like we were complete and done because. Yes, we listened to Nick. We shot for being done by Saturday. We were done. Ours was completed. We just spent the rest of the time tweaking what we wanted, adding cool stuff, you know? So we just tried to hit milestones and be on point with those as much as possible. So
Any other questions?
What are you guys storing in the Firebase database? What is the
oh yeah.
So each it's each table row. So we use the child added to add in every time somebody clicks love it. It saves the title, the name, and the streaming information and the preference all to one child.
and what's the unit like? What is it like saying the user the name that is like asking the city?
Yeah. So the name they type in
Yeah.
gets saved.
Type in the location?
Yeah.
Right.
There are other things, because I think, yeah, there's something with the functionality with that Dante had mentioned.
Yeah,
You wanted to
one
kinda-
thing that we did kind of want to do was get basically one child. I believe the terminology is one child added, and have basically the user's name be that child, and then have all the titles and streaming information under that one child.
Any other questions?
What was your favorite part about making this?
Honestly, I was ecstatic when Jeff came up with the YouTube stuff.
Yeah. That was
Pretty
really
cool.
cool. Because
I thought it was
yeah.
fun from beginning to end. I mean,
Yeah.
I really had a good time with the back-end coding piece. All the APIs had a really good time with. I mean, even when stuff broke, I was pretty much having a good time the whole time. So.
We're second. Yes, I do want to get a
Oh, me too. Trust me.
That's
Away from this. Okay.
You'll find out. Be patient.
Alrighty, guys. So we are Team Targaryen. So we decided to do a travel website because we figure that everyone loves to travel. I know myself and all in my group loves to travel. So please raise your hand if you like to travel. Perfect. A majority of people. And if I were to ask you right now, do you have a destination in mind where you want to travel? Yes, George. Portugal. And why? Exactly. I mean, that's a good answer. But so, a lot of the time, yes.
I went to Bora Bora
And why?
because they got this place where they have a house on the water. And that
So
was
you've seen
so
images,
peaceful.
correct?
Yeah, I would like to relax.
Okay, so a lot of the time when you are on a website or when you're scrolling through social media, you see an image and you're like, wow, that place looks amazing. Or even when you have a desktop image pop up, I know I have it on mine. When I first open my computer, it has that nice big image of some beautiful place. So basically what we wanted to do was we wanted to give you that same idea, but we wanted to also give you somewhat of a description, a little bit of the weather, and of course some images to show you what that place actually looks like, and then also a little bit of people's own description of that place. So if they've had a good experience or a bad experience in that specific location, they can tell you, hey, you know, I really loved it because the weather was awesome during this time, or hey, you know, I didn't like it so much because it was a little bit dangerous. So we wanted to give you a better insight of when you choose a destination, you choose it off of the image, obviously, but also off of a little description and also off of the weather based on the season and time you want to go. So we're going to make this a little bit more interactive. I will let Ali take it from here.
Okay, so Ivana found this beautiful background image for our opening page here, and then so I just put together this opening page, thinking just keep it simple and get the user's attention. And so if you click on the drop-down menu, choose your adventure, you can choose either going to, can go on here? Either tropical beaches, urban jungles, or mountain hikes. So does someone want to volunteer to choose one of those three?
Urban jungle!
Okay.
All right, sweet. Let's see urban jungles.
Okay.
Good choice.
That's good choice.
Perfect. So let's see if this works.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome. So as you can see, my part was kind of putting stuff together as far as how it looks. So I used Bootstrap quite a bit, but I also used some of my own CSS properties to make it look a lot better than it was just with general bootstrapping. So we added some images pulling from the API.
Yeah,
Andrew?
we got those from Google Places API, and these are actually photos that some of them have been taken by users, so that's why they're kind of varying in shape. So that I made a call for the 6 locations, and Google API, their requirements are just a place ID, which you can get from their website, and then also your API key, and that's it. So once I get the object back, they give a photo reference number, and I can change the source of the image just to that photo reference, and then bam, there's the images. And then the other API we used was Open Weather, and that's pretty simple. It's just I take the latitude and longitude from the Google API call, put that into the Open Weather call, and then you get real-time information about what the weather's like at that location. So you can get things like the current description of the weather, the current temperature, the high-low, humidity, and wind speed. And you get a cool little icon to show you what it looks like. So that's pretty much our APIs that we use there.
Sweet. And of course, since you don't really go to a place you've never been to before, right? You want to make sure that it's a safe place to go to. So, of course, the comment section is one of those ways that, I mean, if you ever buy anything off of Amazon, first thing you're going to look at is the comments, right? So it's kind of the same concept here. So you would literally click on this here, as you see our pet dragon right there. And our username, so everything that we put in here is stored inside of our Firebase data. Let's say we're going to go to send, and we had a great time. But it rained. Question mark? What did it rain?
But it rained.
You know, we didn't rehearse this part.
It's still raining, by the way.
Keep it. That is an Amazon comp. No.
Oh, you're right. You're right. It's got to be authentic. You're right. You're right. All right. So once we post, as you can see, it stores it right back up here. So technically, we want to be able to do in our phase 2, like login information, and be able to make sure that people can actually comment differently on each location at certain points. But right now, you can't. As well as our likes and dislikes aren't functional. That wasn't in our MVP as well. But phase 2, we could get those likes and dislikes working too with experiences.
All right. So, if you are like me and you travel a lot, you want to stay in a safe place and a great place for not a lot of money. So, we wanted to also offer the viewer or the visitor of the page, once you decide on your destination, you just want to check what kind of accommodation options are there. So since that wasn't necessarily our MVP, we just didn't, we just decided we'll give you one option. So you can see when you click on the button, you have our best pick of the hotel for a very reasonable price. And if you like it, you can just go and click here on a link. And boom, it'll bring you right to the website, and you can make your reservation if you like it. Okay, and so yeah, let me go back to the features. Okay, then you can close it. And so that way, if you choosing your destination, you also know where to go. We put, we hard-coded here some information for the hotels, whether they were, let me go back, for the price, and, what the services are, and some were pet-friendly, some were not. I was hoping actually first to have it with the API, but it just was the travel industry has it so tight that we had such a hard time to really get the APIs who would want to it. So we just decided that we'll just hard-code it and offer a comfortable and very attractive destination where you want to, accommodation in the destination you will choose. Okay. Yeah.
Any questions or comments for us?
All right, well, that'll be it.
Perfect. Is there any questions? Sorry. Hey, I heard people clapping, so I was walking on stage.
I can't see. Like, what are those little boxes on the top? Like, to the right?
Those are the buttons that. This is the comment. It triggers the comment modal.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So those are our two modals: one for the comments and one for the hotels. Yeah.
That's it.
And that and also Google Fonts are the two new technologies that we use for our project. Any other questions or comments? Yes.
What was roadblocks that you ran into that really
I can start.
Guys, Andrew, Reggie.
Yeah, so
start.
Not even talking about Firebase. That's a whole nother story. But I was originally trying to put a model inside of a model. And if you don't know what a model is, it's technically a model. So that gave me at least 10 hours of straight. I don't know. I have definitely extra gray hairs because of that. But of course, my great team suggested that I talk to one of our handy TAs, and Nick really looked out with that suggestion with just, keeping it kind of simple and making sure that, you have what you need in the comment sections right above the comments. So it really worked out that way. I think it looked a little bit better too. Mm-hmm. All right, and Andrew?
Yeah, so the hardest part for me in regards to the APIs was I was getting this crazy CORS error that was blocking my call completely and just wouldn't work, even though the functions worked, but the API call wouldn't complete. So I was just getting errors, and it would only work on my laptop and nobody else's. So I still don't know why, but I found a solution to it, and I changed the AJAX call to something called a fetch call, and then that cleared up all my problems, but it costed a couple days of stress and worry. But yeah, that was the hardest part for me.
Yeah.
The destination code. So that's just hard coded. Google's API has an option where you can put like their own map and then choose a location. So if we wanted to be dynamic and let anyone pick a location, you could do it that way. But we just chose 6 destinations for each section. So I just have an array with the place IDs in them for each section.
If you could add one more feature that you feel would just put it over the top to make it super stellar, what would that feature be?
Probably the map to let people choose a unique destination. At least for me, that's what I would do.
I mean, it's good to have to give people an idea, because sometimes people only see images and they're like, I really want to go there. Kind of like George said with Portugal. But then once they actually find out more information about it, then it really pushes them to actually go there, or maybe it kind of pushes them away from going there because they actually have more information, or because they've seen previous comments that, hey, someone else from Arizona has been to Portugal, maybe they had a great time, or maybe they had a really terrible time. And you can kind of take a look at that and then kind of base it off of if you want to go or not. Yeah, that's it was open weather.
It's open weather API. Yeah, it gives you an icon ID, and then I just have like the source. They have a URL, and then you just put their little icon tag in there, and then it changes it. So it's pretty cool.
Which one?
The
hotel? So I wanted to have it from API, but it's hard-coded about Ali, and we actually did another model, so it's all hard-coded in it. But Ali was great support. But yeah, it would be great. But as I said, I tried Amadeus. It's so hard to get without paying. So we're not able to get any trouble. We tried.
We tried to base off most of the hotels that we chose off of a 4-star, cheapest 4-star hotel kind of. So they're all about the same range as far as being the quality.
Yeah.
Price obviously is going to change depending on if you're in Sydney or if you're in Thailand. So that's kind of depending on what you choose.
But we try to keep it like under $100, so for reasonable, and with as much the most bang for your buck. So for the most luxury, so there's a lot of spa in those hotels. It took a lot of research, right? But that's what I do when I travel. So yes, so I think and a good place, safe place, great destination, and all of it. Some have great restaurants. So I feel like I would go. So yeah.
That was actually another roadblock that we had was getting the hotel buttons onto the page.
Yes.
And then and not only the hotel buttons onto the page, but getting so you have the button that triggers the modal, right? And then you have the actual modal. So just we found out that in order to get this to work, so that it we put the button code, in the card there in the upper right corner of the card where it is, right? But then we had to put the modal code all the way at the bottom of the HTML page, or else it wasn't. Or else it was messing up all the CSS and everything was all over the place. So that was interesting to figure out.
Yeah.
And we literally finished that 20 minutes before.
We were all good.
Yeah, you were having fun, right?
It's wonderful. And yeah, it was great to work with this team. It was a wonderful team.
Yeah, good.
Excellent, very good. So thank you.
Cool. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Woo!
All right, so we are Team Stark. We created a website called Game Tinder. It basically is just like a Twitch, Steam, YouTube all put in together. If you don't know what Twitch is, it's like a live stream. Basically same thing as YouTube, just live. Yeah. How do I move this? Okay. Me and Laura were the front ends, and then they were the back ends. Jay and Kyle, sorry.
So like our motivation behind it was mainly I like playing video games constantly. I do that when I'm not coding. It's my kind of like my vice. And there's a lot of people that game out there, and there's a huge community based upon the gaming industry. People spend hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars a year just on video game systems and games. So we wanted to bring a search engine that you can actually search for a game, and it comes up with the game and a small description on the game. Next slide. So we'll kind of give you a small little demo on how it works.
So as far as this working, really the idea behind it is that a user can come and they can start searching for any game they want. I'm not a game guy, so I only know like one game. So,
The other three of us are.
Yeah, I know. So you type it in, it goes out and it'll grab all of the game values that match that using an API, and then returns all the results, which is interesting because now there was. Yeah, so anyways, the cards looked better. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden they're not there. So then the user would be able to click on any one of the games that they're interested in, and it would, whoa.
I don't think it's updated.
So there should be more to this. We're missing some. Yeah. Anyways, that's interesting. It's just working on
Normally, YouTube stream links would pop up. Right there.
Yeah. So on the right side of this is we're utilizing YouTube to go out and get the top 5 results based on the game title, and it would bring the game or the YouTube thumbnail across and the description across over to here to this, and then yeah, and you can close the modal here. Another component that we utilize to help track is that the user can log in to an account. We'll see if this actually works. Yeah, this is not the latest and greatest. Hang on, sorry guys.
So what we're using is Firebase authentication for this. It was kind of that's one of our roadblocks that we had during this whole project, was because we haven't really gone over authentication and we haven't really gone over something that's this in depth.
Correct. I don't know what is different. This was all working earlier. Something has changed.
There isn't any pop-ups in
There's there's no pop-ups. Yeah, so in theory, I'll have to find out. That's my favorite. So. How do you do this? I don't know what I'm doing. There we go. I'm a Windows guy, so this is foreign.
Click on the network tab. You see where it says disable cache? Check that and
So I'll kind of go over while he's searching and see if we can get this to work. But what we used for the front end stuff was Materialize. So we wanted to move something a little bit away from Bootstrap. That was another roadblock where we had, because Materialize is made by not a company like somebody like Twitter. It's made by somebody that runs all of his stuff off of GitHub as well. So it's Materializes it. It's a completely different.
It's the pop-up. I don't care what it is.
The cards and the way that the games come in were a really hard kind of concept, because it doesn't work like Bootstrap, where you can just make a card dynamically and it saves the content.
So so there is the YouTube results right there, and then if the user's logged in, which I don't get to go to favorites. Well,
it's complicated. I got it to work.
So once you're logged into it, the user can then scroll through the list, and let's say they wanted to pick the original Call of Duty here. They could then click the favorite button. It adds it to their favorites, adds it to the Google database. Then they can close out of this. Pieces that we're still working on is linking to the favorites page without having everything reset. Pieces we're still figuring out, but ideally if you saved a favorite to that and you sign in, then all of your saved games come back and are displayed. So that's kind of the general functionality, as well as being able to log out the user and get it. So I don't know if we wanted to switch back or not, but that's kind of the general functionality of it, like I mentioned, I worked on the back end, mostly trying to get the data into Firebase and authentication, and then getting the data back out of the database.
And I worked on the AJAX calls, and then dynamically making our results on the page, and then they worked on the materialize and trying to get the models and everything to work.
I'm trying to think what else we put in there. As far as all the other functionality goes, the next things are just really trying to, like I said, tie the search page to the favorites page so that the data can flow back and forth. And then if you already have the favorite stored on it when you are on the search page, being able to pull those IDs forward and say, hey, you already have that game stored as a favorite, and just no action to take on that. Because right now every search query is unique. It does do a check on the ad though right now to validate that the game is unique. It's just there's no user validation or user feedback saying, hey, that game is already there. Pieces that we were working towards is adding like a toast notification into the UI to alert the user that that piece is existing, as well as linking to the YouTube videos and getting them to play. The initial idea was to link them out to a separate browser tab to play that YouTube video so that they could see those content and play that way. So, yeah. Any questions?
We used Giant Bomb as for the actual main search, and then we used YouTube API to pull the YouTube videos. And the Giant Bomb, I had trouble with both Twitch and what was the other one?
It was Open Game Database.
Yeah, it was Open Game Database, and so I found one that would just work just as well, and didn't limit my calls of how much I actually need because there's a lot of console logging. So yeah.
You were talking about Firebase authentication. What's the explaining more about Firebase authentication?
Yeah, so I was kind of talking with teammate here, you know, that we got it to work, but we created our own login modal. And the way we got it to work was to take the logged in user object and pull the UID out of the object for the user, and then store that on the page, the index JSON or JavaScript, excuse me. And then from there, we use that user ID to push to the Fire database to store all of the favorite games under that unique ID. So that way we can do it. In talking with others, it sounds like that's probably not the most secure way to do it. Probably should have been using like a session token and figuring that out. So it would be probably something to look at is to remove the unique ID out of it and use the session token to derive probably that unique ID or figure out how to handle that when we commit the data back to the database. But it was a unique challenge trying to figure that out. We attempted to try to use the Firebase UI that they have that's pre-generated so that it would interact and load, and we could just add in like GitHub or Facebook or Google. I just couldn't figure that out, so we went the route of creating our own and passing all the data values through it. So. Favorite thing?
My favorite thing personally is just the little game Tinder thing that he made. I tried to make one, and I thought I was going to do way better than that, but it actually turned out way worse. So that was actually really funny little part.
Mine was just the fact that we got most of the stuff to work that we set out for. Of course, we had the setbacks to the point where I wanted to give up, but thanks to this gentleman right here, he's like, let's just do it. And so we put our heads down and just did it, and it feels like a real accomplishment when we made something from scratch. Like, it's a pretty cool feeling.
I think for me, it's validating that the game already existed on the user's record was a huge accomplishment, at least for me. Spent, I don't know, hours staring at that, fighting, trying to figure out the best way to pull the data from Google's Firebase. So being able to get that and compare that was good. And I'm a perfectionist, so this bothers me that we're not all the way done. There's more that I want to definitely do to it.
Yeah.
Yes. I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
It was very hard to learn. Very hard.
There's just not a lot of documentation, and I still think you'd have to go out and get a lot of the CSS from Bootstrap. Bootstrap, I think, has way more.
Yeah. And it didn't work unless we added Bootstrap.
Yeah, we tried to merge Bootstrap and Materialize together to kind of use that. What we did find out is that the modals were the same class and they were overriding each other, so it was clashing a lot. And we could have gone through the CSS of Bootstrap and pulled what we need to, but we were just kind of coming up on crunch time, and I was working on the back end stuff, and they were doing the designing and stuff like that, so we didn't really have time. It was wasted time, in my opinion, to do it than to just work with Materialize and what they give us. Thank you.
No, thanks.
Yeah. If you guys had an extra week to work on it, what would you guys want to add that you guys don't already have?
I would want to add a way to actually buy the game.
Yeah, that was
because we have it to where you can search, you can see the description, so it's great. If you don't know the game and you want to look, and then you can see people streaming and see how they play it, but have to go and research it and see, and have to go buy it. I would want to add that to this. That was a big thing. But.
And then on top of that, I think another value add would be being able to search based on additional filters to return back games based on either rating or type of game. But that's something we don't have right now.
I'd also like to add, instead of it clicking you off into YouTube, just have the video there on the site so you wouldn't have to leave. And then also somehow adding live streams from Twitch. That would, I feel would be really cool to have just Twitch and YouTube in one. But yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right.